Welcome back to the Step Brothers. I'm Wesley Clark here with Andrew Hayden. We are inching towards March Madness, just weeks away. Ohio State and Michigan are on the opposite side of the spectrum, with Michigan in the top four and Ohio State trying to squeeze their way in. Andrew, what's going on?
Nothing much. Coming off a heartbreaker last night to Duke. You were at that game, so we'll talk about that in depth, I'm sure. But yeah, other than that, doing well. I still feel good about Michigan. Obviously, Ohio State, like you said, watched a little bit of their game today against Michigan State. Something's just wrong with that program, as I'm sure you have extensive thoughts on. But yeah, still not a bad week for Michigan overall. I mean, you lose to Duke in a neutral site game that doesn't affect the Big Ten at all. And, just a few days ago, Michigan won by double digits on the road against Purdue, who's a top 10 team. So, just trying to remind myself of the positives. But yeah, still a little stung after last night.
No, exactly. Obviously, dropping to Duke, who is number 3 in the nation. Arizona and Houston, 2 and 4, I believe. Yes. Yeah, we played each other, with Arizona coming on top in Houston. So not a bad loss by any means. It was one possession pretty much the entire game. Ohio State, on the other hand, at times we're up against Michigan State, dropped at one point to a 10-point deficit and try to get their way back into the game. But, Bruce Thornton can only do so much for Ohio State, as he is probably one loss away from never making the NCAA March Madness tournament.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's at that point, he is one of the better players that has come through Ohio State. I know when you think about Aaron Kraft, Sullinger, and D'Angelo Russell in the most recent one. So you got to wonder, and in the era of transferring, I obviously would never want someone to transfer out of Ohio State, but this is the basketball program. This is not football.
Right.
So I'm kind of surprised and wondering what he did, or how much he liked Ohio State, what money they were giving him. But we all heard that comment from Gus Johnson about how they don't pay their players as much. Well, obviously, right. I don't think Bruce Thornton is getting money. So is the rest of the roster. But obviously, the difference is going to be huge because Columbus is a football town, and it has been since the dawn time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we'll get into it. We'll talk about Ohio State basketball first. Obviously, Bruce Thornton coming off a 32-point performance today. The game was at noon, 1 o'clock on CBS. 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Didn't have any turnovers, and he is just inching his way closer and closer to the most points scored by an Ohio State player. He moved to number 2 today, and hopefully he gets that number 1 spot. But from
in front of him,
I would have to look. I'm not sure, but you obviously play college basketball.
On-air research as you continue.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because you play college basketball. Ohio State probably gives him enough money. They get enough funding from their donors. It's a huge school, huge alumni base. Why would Bruce Thornton stay? We've seen guys, be at the program for 2 years and go to the tournament for both years and then still leave for better team. And more feels like could be a lateral move. Mm-hmm. It's something in Bruce Thornton made him stay, and I am wondering what it could be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure money plays a part in it, but also just when you're it's not as if Ohio State is historically, Ohio State has had good basketball. They have a good basketball history. I would say it's similar to Michigan's, actually. I think they're kind of one step below that, kind of blue blood tier, historically, 1 or 2 steps below, which I'd put Michigan in the same kind of tier. When you're just the top guy on a program like that who has hopes of getting back to some of that success, it's hard to leave that, even if there are potentially better opportunities to go compete for maybe something bigger somewhere else. It's hard to leave when you know that you've already established yourself there. And I'm sure NAL plays a role in that too. But Dennis Hopson, I looked it up, is the all-time leading scorer, 1983 to 87. and he's only like 50 points ahead of Bruce Thornton. So
yeah, so
I
Bruce
think
Thornton will get it.
basically guarantee that Thornton will.
He'll get it. I mean, he's
yeah.
The last 5 games for Bruce Thornton, I think he's dropped at least 22 points.
Yeah,
last 5 games, have a couple of 30s.
Yeah, he's
doing a good job doing everything he can. But Ohio State, it's their 10th loss of the season. You kind of have to hover that 21 mark, 21 wins to get an at-large bid in a conference like the Big Ten, the ACC, SEC. And Ohio State's not going to get there. They played Michigan State today, and I play one more ranked team. I believe it's Purdue in March, second last game of the season. Jake Diebler, he took over for Holtmann, and it has been a copy and paste of what Chris Holtmann did for Ohio State. He made the tournament a couple times, when he started at Ohio State, and Jake Diebler, I was thinking about a phrase. We got deked in a way when he beat Purdue. When he was interim head coach. Everyone thought he was the next coming of, I don't know, Woody Hayes for college basketball, but ended up just being a disaster.
And they had that win against Michigan State, right?
Yes, they did, on a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
It's just a disaster, and I don't think it can't be money. There's just no way it's money, because Ohio State it's going to be up towards the 45 million mark. They're going to be always top 5 in spending on their football program, and will have leftover cash for the basketball program. If they have gotten recruits 4 stars and 5 stars these last 3 years, and they have ended up transferring out because who knows what is happening within the program.
Yeah. I clearly, I mean, people, Ohio State fans care about their basketball program, not as much as their football program, but it's definitely not like it's just a non-factor. Like, money definitely goes into it. I doubt it's definitely not close to like what Michigan spent this year, what a Kentucky spends every year, what a North Carolina spends, like, because that's kind of their sole focus. But definitely, like, in terms of the Big Ten, I would say I'm pretty confident saying it'd be like top 1/3. You would think
it would have to be, and they have Anthony Thompson, who's a 5-star recruit, coming next year. Unfortunately, he won't be able to play with Bruce Thornton. He's done with eligibility. Don't know how Thornton's going to do in pros. He's a little smaller. I don't know. I'm not the best in evaluating basketball players as much as baseball and football. But obviously, the Ross Bork, he's got extreme backlash ever since he took Geno Smith's spot as the athletic director. Gene Smith cared a lot more about, it seemed for a while, he was there when D'Angelo Russell was there, when Aaron Kraft played. They were all out for this, Ohio State basketball, being elite. Made it to the Final Four, lost to Kansas. It just hasn't been the same, what it feels, probably 6 years now. I mean, or Roberts, I think that's who they lost to when they were a 2 seed. And ever since that game, it has been a downhill spiral for the Buckeye basketball. And this is probably going to be rock bottom. I mean, this is a school of 45,000. Most of these programs, I mean, in the middle of the ACC, obviously ACC tends to be pretty good, but they give a lot of leeway with teams in big conferences like the Big Ten to lose games and still make the tournament. And Ohio State can't even do that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Ohio State is 0-9 in quad 1 games. Yeah. They've beat some decent teams. I mean, they had that dominant win over Wisconsin just a few days ago. They've just struggled to get that key win that really puts himself in the conversation for the tournament. I think right now, or before today's game, I think bracketology had them somewhere kind of in the first 4 in, or the last 4 in, or the first 4 out, somewhere in that kind of range. But yeah, they just haven't been able to find that kind of signature win to hang their hat on. And yeah, from watching them a few times, especially against Michigan both times this year, something's just not like the way they have built their roster to compete in the Big Ten. It just doesn't work. Like I think the Big Ten is kind of built on physicality, dominant front courts, and they just don't have that. Like they have a definite lack of physicality, it seems. I mean, they actually played pretty good defense today against Michigan State, but Michigan State's also a terrible offensive team, so I don't know how much you can really say about that. They have a few talented guards, but overall, like top to bottom, it just doesn't feel like their roster is really built to compete against some of the best teams in the Big Ten.
Absolutely, and I have written down their lack of physicality and trying to get extra possessions. That they struggle doing that. Rebounding is a huge issue, and today they, in the first half, they kept Michigan State under 30% shooting, and that collapsed in the second half. They were up going to half, and they left 26-23. They were leading, and they 22 points in the paint. And then in the second half, all of a sudden, they start shooting more threes. And they just Bruce Thornton seems like the only guy who can do that on this team. So I don't know where you go from here. Getting guys who are more athletic, it doesn't seem the way to go because you have that. And I think the physicality is probably the issue. Getting guys in the paint. I mean, if you're getting out rebound, I mean, I would have to. There's probably a stat in college basketball. I think 70% of the time the team wins, they also out rebound their opponent. That's Ohio State's issue. They get out rebound constantly, and you're just going to lose games.
Yeah, and that's not just only a talent thing. Like that's just a culture and identity thing. It just seems like they kind of lack that. I don't know if it seems like a lot of players on their team don't really know their role entirely. They have a lot of guys that kind of come in, and it's just very unclear. It just doesn't feel like the program has a ton of direction, if you would agree with that.
I do. I agree because Jake Diebler is a first-time head coach, and Ryan Day, he was given the head coaching position, but he was in the NFL for years under Chip Kelly in San Francisco and Philadelphia, under Urban Meyer. He won constantly. Ryan Day, Jake Diebler hasn't. He was just an assistant to a mid-program, and someone in his position, you're that assistant head coach. Then you go to Butler, and then maybe you make your way back to school, what Ohio State should be. They hired Jake Diebler because of some wins that he got, and the fan base wanted to keep him. He was young, and turns out that was the wrong decision. And he'll get a job. I think he should be fired. I think he'll get a job, and
I think that's probably likely if they miss the tournament.
Just do it. I mean, why keep him around?
There's no upside to keeping him. I don't think
there's no upside.
I think you're just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, he would be fired. Obviously, it's not the football program, but this is going to be 4 years straight not making the program. I mean, not making the March Madness tournament. Just get rid of it. It doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, it's just another copy and paste, but try again. I mean, in the NFL, you're talking about guys who fail in their second year, like Dan Quinn, and they want people out. They want him out. So in college basketball, 4 years in a row failing, you're done.
Not only failing to make the tournament is like, if you want to be a premier basketball program, that has to be a given. Making the tournament is not a success.
No, exactly. And that's actually Mike Young of Virginia Tech. He's made the tournament twice since 2019. He's never made the round of 32. And their ACC ranking every single year drops 7th, 9th, 10th. Now this year it's 11th.
Yeah.
So he's probably done, and Jake Diebler should be as well.
Yeah. Can't fall in love with the interim. That's something us Michigan fans could tell you after the Sharon Moore experiment. So it's a dangerous game.
Well, obviously, Michigan on the other side, they're ranked number 1 for what, 2 weeks?
1 week.
1 week.
But 1 week.
Obviously, we can go into the Michigan Duke game.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, I'll just say, because I had it pulled up, Ohio State has 4 remaining games in their Big Ten slate. Iowa on the road coming up on Wednesday. get Purdue at home after that, then go on the road to Penn State, then get Indiana at home. You probably have to win 3 out of those 4. And a win against Purdue at home would really help your resume.
If they win 3 out of 4, beat Purdue,
I would consider them in. Yeah,
you're at the 21 wins. Was Purdue ranked 7th?
Yeah. They're 7th right now. I think they'll drop a little bit.
Drop because they lost to you guys by 11.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a top 10 win. Yeah, that's I would probably consider them in. Our games at home, that helps. Playing an Indiana team, that's all right.
They're all right, but you can beat that team, I think. Can't lose.
Well, you have to. You really don't have a choice.
Yeah. I don't see them going on the road to beat Iowa, personally. I'd pick them against Penn State, but that's the only one I would feel confident about. So a lot of ground to make up. But you never know. Maybe they could save their hopes. But yeah, let's move into Michigan. Ohio State talk is depressing me, so let's get into something meaningful here. Let's talk first about the game on Saturday. Obviously, we kind of talked about it in the intro a little bit. This one stings if you're a Michigan fan, but I want to hear from you first because you were at the game with your counterpart, former Duke Blue Devil, heir to Indiana Hoosier booster.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Big, I'm sure the family are big donors to athletic programs. Yes, my girlfriend went to Duke, went to the game with her. It was good. I hadn't seen, let me just say, I grew up with, it was called the Verizon Center. We grew up with that. Mm-hmm. Now it's Capital One Arena. I hadn't seen that. I walked in, we're going to your seats. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen this arena like this since John Wall hit the game winner against the Celtics. It has been a while since that arena had been filled. And I will say it was mostly Duke. I don't know if they showed that on TV.
I can really see it.
Yeah, it
looked like a good split from what I saw, but
because we were in the 400s, and man, that was obviously it's the East Coast. It was a Duke game initially, and then they moved it to Capital One Arena in DC. Probably 70% Duke. I think the one side was we were on the Duke side, and the Michigan bench was on the other side of the stadium, so that was filled with Michigan. But at least the side that we were on was loud, when Duke was doing the thing. But what I noticed, because I have seen Michigan play a couple times against Michigan State, rebounding is a huge thing that is a success for Michigan, especially defensive rebounds, and the amount of points in the paint for Duke on offensive rebounds just blew my mind. And just the extending the plays. And in fact, that's how they won the game, because they got that offensive rebound, and that shot clock was just pretty much equivalent to the game clock. And they had to foul. So that won the game for Duke. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Michigan got out rebounded 41-28.
Oh my goodness.
Michigan is usually on the opposite side of that, or they have been most of the time this year. So that's not how I expected. I think the game kind of boiled down to 2 factors, really, more than this, but like 2 main things. One, yes, you got out rebounded. You got kind of dominated in the paint a little bit, maybe a little bit of a wake-up call. Part of that is for the majority of the first half, Michigan was out 2 of their 3 best rebounders, Imrez Johnson and Ade Mara. So that obviously does not help. But still, I mean, I think Duke just looked like tougher, more physical. Every time that Michigan drove into the paint, Duke would have someone there to wall them up, and Michigan just looked stonewalled at times. I mean, they looked like they were going up soft. Just not what I've been used to seeing this year from Michigan. And then the guard play, right? Like everybody says, I posted a TikTok about this earlier. Everybody says, right, guards win in March, and it's such a huge thing to have guys that when you get in those high pressure environments, and maybe your offensive flow isn't working that well, you can't run your sets the way you're used to. You got to have guys that can just go and make plays. You got to have guys that can just go and get a bucket. You got to have guys that can hit big shots in the perimeter. And the thing with Michigan, the critique of Michigan really is, yes, they have probably the best front court in the nation, especially in terms of depth. Like they have 3 NBA level front court guys, but people call their backcourt average. Elliot Cadeau, LJ Kaysen. I wouldn't say that their backcourt is average. In fact, those, their guys, their guards have shown to be able to produce at a really high level. Amari Burnett had a 30-point game just a couple weeks ago. Trey McKinney's been awesome at times this year. LJ Kaysen and Cadeau have each had big moments, but it's just the consistency. Like, this is not the first time. I think I saw a lot of Michigan fans say that Michigan will never play this bad again, or at least Michigan's guards will never play this bad again. But they have. Like, they have. Elliot Cadeau has put up games like this where he's just a non-factor. He didn't turn the ball over a ton in this game, but he's had games where he has 2 points and 5 turnovers. Like, if Michigan wants to reach its goals, which is to win a national championship, you can't be reliant on your guys up front, especially against a team like Duke, who is kind of built the same way. Like, you're not going to be able to go and bully Duke in the paint, clearly, right? They have the probable national player of the year in Cam Boozer down there. He's super physical, great size, especially, the way he plays for a freshman his physicality is pretty impressive. But so that was the other thing that I would say, just you need to have, like, when Michigan, I think people kind of rambling a little bit about this, but people were talking about Michigan not shooting the ball well. I think they shot 24% from 3. Duke only shot 32%, but Duke has not been a great 3-point shooting team all year. I think they sit in like the 130 range in terms of 3-point percentage. Michigan is like 60 percentage point or 60 teams higher than that. I think they sit around like 70 or 80. But the issue is Michigan will have games where it shoots 20% from 3 and then they'll shoot 60% from 3 and they can't miss, and it feels like no one can beat them. So I think they're just so volatile. They've shown that they can just go on streaks where they look unbeatable, and they go on streaks where you're like, wow, this team's floor is like, a lot of teams can beat this team if they're going to play at this level. So that's kind of my thoughts after that game. But obviously, you got to move forward. I hope there's a lot to learn from this game. I'm not mad to get a little bit of a wake-up call in a game that doesn't affect the Big Ten. So, yeah, that's kind of where
second loss on the year. We have 1 loss in conference.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched 3. You watch more college basketball than I do, but I've seen Duke play 3 times. The whole game against Tech, the UNC game, watched the entire thing, and then now this Duke-Michigan game that I was at. Cameron Boozer is their entire offense.
Yeah.
And people know that, and that's a major issue for them down the stretch. The thing is, what everyone knows is their defense is second to could be nobody, especially in the paint. You're talking about Cameron Boozer's he's a forward. I mean, he's carries the ball a lot, but he's more physical than anyone in the nation. I mean, that's why he's going to be a top 4 pick. But there is definitely holes that Duke has, and Michigan could not fill them. They couldn't. Yeah. They couldn't. They couldn't read their defense. It just seemed like driving to the paint was a struggle with them at times, and yeah, I mean, it was just tough. I'm trying to kind of relive the game. What was shocking to me, and I thought the momentum that Michigan, when they got momentum, and you could definitely hear the Michigan crowd. They were loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard some "Let's Go Blues" at times.
For sure. But they couldn't keep the momentum, and I thought that was a major issue. I don't know if you can speak on that, on why they struggled with you score 3-4 times in a row,
mm-hmm.
and they just are lackluster on defense. That's what I was just so confused. I'm like, you're just letting Duke have their way on offensive side when you're hot on offense yourself.
Yeah. I think overall over the grand course of the game, I think Michigan defended Duke pretty well. Obviously, Duke didn't shoot it great. Like you said, they're a little bit one-dimensional. They like to go through Cam Boozer a lot. When guys like Isaiah Evans aren't hitting shots, that becomes more difficult for their offense. But there were times where Michigan would get a bucket, and then Duke would come down, come off one ball screen, find an easy dump off, dunk. Or someone would just get beat, get driven to the rim. I think that's something that's been super on and off. Is there are times where our perimeter defenders look elite, and there are times where it seems like certain guards can get a step. Like I think Caleb Foster was getting into the paint, getting a touch whenever he wanted. And yeah, like you said, they just couldn't hold any momentum. I mean, seemed to. I know Duke is an elite defensive team. I'm looking at KenPom right now, and they're the number 3 team in the country in terms of defensive rating. Michigan is number 1. Their guards are elite on the ball. They are a great team defensively in terms of sitting in gaps. Like they were daring Michigan to be able to shoot, knock down shots from outside with the way they were plugging holes and sending, not even sending doubles all the time to guys in the post, but just having another guy there. Like the amount of times they had another guy just in the area, kind of digging off a perimeter defender or a perimeter offensive player, and Michigan just couldn't make them pay for it.
Isaiah Evans, that's who I was thinking of during the game. I love the saying, 2s hurt you, 3s kill you. Mm-hmm. He was that guy, and all the credit to him on late game clutch 3s. I mean, that he sealed it, what it seemed like on a couple possessions. He only had 14 points, I believe, but the timing of his scoring was just the cherry on top.
Well, Duke scored every possession after the under 4 media timeout.
Well, there you go.
For the rest of the game. So,
I mean, that's the thing. The momentum, there was just no way. Michigan got close. I think it was like 59, 60, something in terms of that, something like that. Also, I believe they missed a free throw. I think I remember seeing Michigan miss a free throw. So, and that's a killer when you're trying to tie the game. And then Duke just goes on their side on offense and scores again. So the momentum was a huge issue. And I mean, all the credit to Duke. You play the number 1 defense, and they kind of had their way at times.
They made all the plays when it mattered. I don't think they had their way throughout the whole game, but in the clutch when it mattered, they got what they were looking for. They beat Trey McKinney on a couple back doors. They hit Isaiah Evans on that dunk on that alley-oop. That was a nice set play from John Shire. So yeah, I think there was that time where I think it was a 3-point game. Michigan comes down. Elliot Kiddo was a wide open layup and he just smokes it. And then Cam Boozer comes down, hits a 3, or like Duke would get it. Michigan finally forces a miss, and then Duke gets an offensive rebound. It's just when the game is when you're not shooting well and you're playing a defensive dogfight like that. Like the game is won on the margins. The game is won in a couple possessions. You need a key rebound, and Duke seemed to have all of those answers, and Michigan did not. So going forward, I think, like I said, Michigan can learn from this game. I don't know if you learn a ton that you didn't already know about Michigan, like what it needs to do to win. I know we talk about Duke and their elite defense, but Michigan going into this game averaged 91 points a game. I don't think you score 60 after averaging 90 all season based on just your opponent alone. I mean, they've played some tough defenses. Michigan State has a really good defense. They play in the Big Ten. Like some of those defenses are elite. So there was clearly a lack of offensive rhythm that, guys just couldn't get going, couldn't make shots. And that obviously, plays a part in it. But, I still think this team has what it takes to win it all. I think we've seen this team ceiling at times. But, man, their floor is scary. Like, their floor is being down to Northwestern by 16 in the second half. Like, it makes me nervous.
That happened.
Yeah, they had to come back and win against Northwestern. It was terrible.
That's right. I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of at least the floor to your football program this year. Because let's talk about that Northwestern in football. You had to kick a game-winning field goal to win the game, and at times, that game against Washington with 3 interceptions.
I would say our football program this year wasn't so much inconsistent with a low floor as just consistently mid.
Consistently mid
at all times. I don't think the ceiling was very high.
Well, the thing is with football, did it feel like you didn't know who was going to show up, or do you feel more that way?
I would say Michigan basketball is you don't know who's going to show up, but there are so many guys who can that it's just so possible. And when they do, especially if you get multiple guys, they look unbeatable. But Michigan football, it was like, I'm pretty confident we don't have anyone who can step up right now.
You're talking about football.
Did I say basketball again?
Oh,
Michigan basketball, there's a ton of guys who can step up. Deepest team in the country.
That's what I assumed you were talking about.
Football, I didn't think there was I went into games thinking, please someone surprise me, not like please play your best. Like please someone show up who I've never heard of before.
Yeah, it's tough in football. There's 11 guys on the field for a team compared to one dude. But then on Bruce Thornton, on his angle, you're talking about a guy who drops 30 a game, and the team sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your team has to be bad for Bruce Thornton to be like this for 4 years and never sniff the tournament.
Yes, they are bad.
It's about practice. But Michigan, obviously, the question on the screen right here: does Michigan have what it takes to win all? Yes, they do. Obviously, you read the defense Ken Palm rating. We've seen what the offense can do against Purdue, dropping 90 at times during games. It's what team's going to show up if you're in the Sweet 16, and by all means, if you're playing like a Yola Chicago, if you're down by 16 against a team that's in the Sweet 16, you're not going to win the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's to me. That's why they would get upset. Now, I think there's something to be said on who I think will go farther between Michigan and Duke, and that is definitely Michigan.
Really?
Because I mean, I can't imagine. Every year there's a team like Duke that has one player that kind of controls their scoring and they're great on defense, and they get upset.
Especially when it's a freshman. That's why I don't like picking teams that are led by freshmen.
Duke will get – it might not be an upset per se. It might lose to a 6 seed or 7. But, yeah, they're not winning at all. I'm not even going to pick Duke. They won't make the Final Four.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's interesting because I actually came away from that game thinking Duke is more legit than I probably was giving them credit for. Defensively, especially. Offensively, I don't really.
Virginia Tech is really good at home. They're 13-2, 13-3, but they're not very good on offense, especially. Toby Lawal is good, and you saw that UNC game. I mean, they led the entire game until the final shot, but they just never could pull away because Cam Boozer can't shoot the ball at 100% of the time.
Yeah,
that's a problem when you come down to trying to win a national championship, because defense does win win games, but both sides of the ball have to win a championship, and I think their offense will eventually screw them over.
Yeah, and I just think I feel like guys will step up in the tournament. Like Michigan is one of the most experienced teams in the country too, and they have elite athletes like they have elite athletes everywhere. Yaxel's an elite athlete. Amari Burnett's an elite athlete. Roddy Gale even is an elite athlete. Merez Johnson, certainly a freak athlete. They just need that consistent guard play in the tournament because there are other teams out there with really good front courts like Duke, Arizona, Florida. Like they're out there.
I haven't changed my mind on this, and Arizona to me is the best team in this country. At least of what I've read in Athletic about where they can be consistently on offense. I just think that, especially in their size, and man, Houston's a great team, and they dominated them, especially in the beginning of the game. So if they can play like that,
yeah,
they are the team to beat. Michigan too, but I would pick Arizona right now. I'd do Arizona, Michigan, Houston, sure. Duke.
Yeah, I mean it feels like there's a select kind of handful I think this is going to be another year similar to last year where the 1 seeds are really, really good. I don't think this is a year where a 16 seed upsets a 1 seed.
No.
I say that, and now Michigan's probably going to lose to App State in the first round.
Probably App State, yes, or Toledo.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I do think Michigan, still has what it takes to win it all. You just gotta get that consistent play, and I've seen Elliot Cadeau play bad. I've seen Michigan's guards not play well, but getting just dominated like that on the glass, that was couldn't believe what I was watching.
No, I was surprised too because they have good size. Duke is just physical, and that's college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the NBA. It's all about shooting for the most part, and the NBA. But it's almost the shooting. And I say this sometimes because NBA viewership has gone down and college basketball has stayed where it's been. It's almost like the worse it is, the better it is for viewership. Like there's something about it being eye pleasing with college basketball because I think it might be the defense on the defensive side because these guys are trying.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, watching Duke and Michigan, that is the top. That's going to be the best game, one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, that was slugfest. Yeah,
that's why it's $400 to go to. Luckily, it was $0 for me.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, not cheap to go to that game, but yeah, I hope that's a matchup we get again. I really want that. I'm in Wisconsin. I need a rematch versus Wisconsin.
You might get that.
Give me in the Big Ten tournament, please. I'm literally begging.
Tournament. I say, well, if they don't win if they win 3 out of 4, they'll have to pull off a Mike Young Virginia Tech moment. Just
in the tournament,
beat everyone somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they have that ability, but
they do not.
Never know.
I don't think they have that ability. Last thing I'll say, this is not basketball. Well, it is basketball, sports related. Because you probably know my answer. But would you rather have, let's say Michigan wins 2 national championships? Which way would you rather go? 2 football, 1 basketball, 2 basketball?
Over what time period?
I'll say 10 years.
I'd rather have 1 of each. I really feel like this has got to be the year growing up watching. I was not yet like a Michigan basketball watcher when Trey Burke took Michigan to the national championship, but I absolutely remember the national championship against Villanova in 2018. And I still feel like Michigan has been trying to redeem themselves, losing to 11 seed UCLA in 2021 when Michigan was a 1 seed. That one stung too. I will say that Michigan, something about this game being a non-conference game, I think does not play well in like Michigan seems to be very emotional and that they play better in bigger games. Like that game against Purdue, I think you saw Michigan look like as good as they've looked. They looked as good as they've looked for the most part against Michigan State on the road. Like they show up in the biggest moments, but then they'll put up a stinker. They'll lose to Wisconsin. They'll almost lose to Northwestern. It seems crazy to think that they would not get up for a game like this against Duke, but I don't know. The way the team seemed to be operating, the way Dusty May even coached the game, it didn't seem like he was putting a ton of. It seemed like maybe he was coaching more to let the team learn and less to coach them to a win, if that makes sense. He wanted to put his guys in position to experience it themselves, I think.
The more you talk, honestly, I think the best between Ohio State and Michigan, it seems like the Ohio State football team and the Michigan basketball team are similar. Like you saw in Miami, they were low and they had a hard time getting out of it. Like you saw flashes at the end of the first half, still couldn't kick the field goal.
Yeah, it's a good comp actually.
Just like Michigan. Ohio State was obviously there's so many games in basketball, and Ohio State never had to come back. They're down twice the entire season against 2 teams and ended up losing those 2 games. But I think that is a good comp. Because both those teams, you're talking about defense. Number 1 defense, Ohio State for basketball, Michigan. but they still have their low points.
Mm-hmm.
They're not dominant, like they've been.
But I think, I posted on TikTok I would rather lose a Duke game than the Purdue game. I still have to keep reminding myself that that's true, even though I really don't like it. But yeah, you don't want to. I don't think you want to go into the tournament being so inflated with confidence that you don't know what to do when a team punches you in the mouth. And so I think Michigan's going to have a bad taste in their mouth after this one. I do too. I would like weirdly mad about this game, and I don't really know why. I think maybe it's because Duke
is a top 4 matchup.
Yeah,
your first week at number 1, it's in front of the world.
Yeah,
College game day was there in DC.
Mm-hmm.
It was the highest attending regular season. What do you call it? Neutral site game.
Yeah,
the whole world was watching. So, I mean, I would be salty too. It's tough to get that loss. But if I were you guys, losing Purdue would have probably pissed me off a little bit more than Duke. I mean, it's just and this can maybe help.
Yeah,
3 games. We lose 1.
See too. I mean, after Michigan lost to Wisconsin, they turned up didn't lose for 11 games straight. So maybe this is momentum. You got a big week
left in the regular season.
Yeah. Since Illinois lost to UCLA last night, Michigan needs to beat Minnesota on Tuesday, who they'll be 15-plus point favorites against to clinch a share of the Big Ten title, and then 1 more win after that. So 2 out of the next 4 to clinch outright. And then that game Friday night at Illinois is going to be a really big one too. So
that reminds me.
You can't hang your head. There's big games every week on Michigan's schedule right now. So
that reminds me of the President's Cup of the NHL, like any of the top. So you don't have to, you have like a regular season champion. Who cares?
Yeah, well, that's how it is in college basketball. That's like
it's been that way. President's Cup. I mean, there was time. It was like probably 10 years in a row. The team that won the President's Cup never actually won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
it's kind of like.
Well, people just don't really care about conference tournaments in basketball, college basketball. It's not unless you're a mid-major and you have to win it.
Right.
Well,
my answer to the question would be 2 football championships.
Oh, I didn't ask you.
Yeah, I enjoy watching.
Ohio State is far from that right now in basketball.
They are. And I got a little tease when I was younger with Sullinger and Kraft. I mentioned, going and, also losing to Kentucky in the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
The Eastern region, so that would have been Sweet 16. Yeah. But, I mean, it's just – I grew up with football. I don't know. It just means more to me.
I didn't even talk about that because I said 1 football, 1 basketball. Basketball is the Michigan sport that I watched more early on because I got, fell in love with Mo Wagner and Austin Davis and some of those guys. So that would mean a ton. But football, that would mean that obviously the Kyle Whittingham era was a success. So that's why I mentioned that in there.
Yeah, and for Ryan Day, the last time Woody Hayes won 5 national championships, Urban Meyer won 1. Dressel won 1. So Ryan Day is trying to do something that Ohio State coach hasn't done in a while, and that's win 2. Mm-hmm. They've been kind of spread out evenly. 2002, 2003 season, 2014, 2024. So I don't really feel like waiting another 10 years. Because the one thing I do say, Ohio State won, it was in 10 years exactly. Not on the date, but I'd say as a team, you get to claim a championship for 10 years. And then once the decade ends, man, it's time to win another one.
I think that's even less time now, though. Like with this current era where turnarounds happen quicker and you're expected to win quicker, I think it's more like 5. Like I bet you Georgia fans are not clinging on to their 2022 championship.
And they went back to back
much right now. I know, but you think they're happy about going out in the quarterfinal? What has it been 3 years?
Yeah, they haven't won. Yeah. They haven't won a playoff game in
3 years.
Yeah, or 2 years, 3 years. I don't think that because they didn't make the
haven't won a playoff game in 3 years because they didn't make it.
They didn't make the 14.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you think about Georgia's, Kirby Smart is still considered the best coach in college football because of what he did 5 and 4 years ago, going back to back. Something that hadn't been done in years. And it's impossible to expect someone to win constantly. I mean, it took Ohio State 10 years from when Zeke won it and then when Travion won it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still considered the blue blood of the blue bloods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all I got to say. I don't know if you want to have any wrapping comments about Michigan. Obviously, Ohio State has to do a lot. I agree with I don't like Gus Johnson making those comments because he has no place. He's also from Michigan. And I've kind of had enough of his broadcasting the last couple of years because I think he's terrible. He's gotten older, which probably plays a part of it, but he hasn't been good. He's ruined games. So just making those comments and something that he has no idea is true or not seems a political move. And I don't like the false information because he doesn't know if it's right. But Ohio State does have to make a change, at least at the head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would say obviously we'll be here to talk about it quite a bit, but yeah, just super excited about it. It hasn't felt like since 2021, really, it hasn't felt like Michigan's had these kind of stakes on a season. And that's exciting, but it's also scary. Every game that they're going to play from here on out, but especially in the tournament, is going to be it's going to feel heavy. But yeah, I say overall the college football season as a whole, I think I enjoy more than the entire college basketball season. But March Madness, just as in a short-term window, that might be my favorite part of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not huge on college basketball, but every year I re-download the March Madness app.
Those first 2 days, the round of 64, so
those are my favorite. I actually asked someone the other day, not to extend this, but would you rather go to, because DC is getting the Elite Eight and Sweet 16, would you rather have a round of 64 game where you're able to watch game after game, or have 2 meaningful games?
You get tickets to all of them in the region?
Yeah, you get a ticket. You don't have to leave the stadium. You get to watch 4 games, or watch 4 or 5 games, or watch 2 meaningful.
Right. At one of those where it's multiple days.
Yeah. The Big Ten tournament.
I'd probably say 2 meaningful. After what I went to the in Madison Square Garden a few years ago, Kansas State versus FAU. Dusty Mays led FAU actually, and that was awesome.
That.
Huh?
I forgot you went to that.
Yeah, that was an insane just environment. Some of those later, the later rounds, Elite Eight and Elite Eight Final Four, it's just insane. It's electric.
Yeah, for March Madness, I'll say the same thing. If I'm at a conference tournament, I think I'm going to go for the quantity.
Sure.
Because I was at the Big Ten tournament in 2017, DC. Got to see everyone, except Ohio State because they lost to Rutgers the day before. But yeah, going to a Elite Eight game would be sick. But that Duke Michigan price, they're up there.
Yeah. Right, more. I think way more than any Wizards game this year. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, obviously Anthony Davis and Trae Young are not even playing. Might play at the end of the year, but hey, at least they're trying, unlike the Nats.
True. All right. Well, that's a different rabbit hole for a different day. A little bit over time. We should wrap up.
Yeah, obviously it was good to talk basketball at some point. We're gonna do it. Being weeks away from not even weeks away from the Big Ten tournament, but a couple weeks away from the March Madness. And just chaos on both sides. I say Michigan trying to figure out 2 different avenues, try to get in the tournament, win a national championship. Mm-hmm. But 2 hard tasks in itself. So we'll probably continue talking about this, once the tournament comes along.
Definitely.
And see where we can go from there.
We'll see. Yeah, big week ahead for Michigan and Ohio State. Season's on the line for Ohio State, really. Michigan's got a chance to clinch the Big Ten, and then huge road game against Illinois, which Michigan has not beat Illinois since 2019. So,
well, there you go.
Looking to get right there. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, let us know in the comments who you have winning the Big Ten tournament, who your favorite to win March Madness and all that jazz. Let us know. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, yeah, all that. Thank you for watching. See you guys next week.